what I would always say to people when they say, where do I start from, is it more important that you make money, or is it more important that you engage with your passion? You can do both, but you should be honest with yourself about which is the bigger priority. Okay, good. If you say money first, I can help you. If you say passion first, I say see a therapist. See a fucking therapist, or see a philosopher, or a wizard, or get your crystals read, or some fucking shit. It's business. It's business. So the top priority is money. The fulfillment of your dreams is important, but I would always say that's more of a creative endeavor. If a client comes to me and they say, I want to run a business, and I ask them that question, and they say dreams first, I have a choice, because it's going to take me about 3 times as long to coach them as the other way. So that means I'd make 3 times the money, but I'd also be 3 times the annoyed, because it's extremely irritating. Because every time you put forward, as a coach, it's irritating. Every time you put forward the strategies for this is how you're going to make money, the counter is always, but it's not my dream. It's not my dream. It's not my dream. And you're like, well, not like there is no such thing as the perfect collusion between one individual's dreams and capitalism. It doesn't exist. We get close to it. The closer we get, the happier we are. I don't want you to do something that you hate, especially as an entrepreneur, as an individual person, because if it's contrary to your values or contrary to your passion, you'll have no energy. I also don't want you to work 24 hours at all. I don't work 24 hours. I want you to have a life. Ultimately, we're not just doing it for the money. We're doing it for the freedom to live. We want the dignity. Money is dignity. Being poor is humiliating. Money is also freedom. But money comes first. I can help people to make money. I just couldn't be bothered trying to help people to fulfill their dreams. Dreams move. Like you could have a different dream in a week's time. So money first, in alignment with your values. And if after a few years you're part of a privileged few, if you work very hard and you're at that elite level of entrepreneurialism, then you will have enough money to fulfill your dreams. But to try and do both from the start is horrifying. And it's something that I see a lot in younger generation people, like millennials and down, where I'll say to them, like, why aren't you working? And they'll go, oh, there's no work that I want. That for me did not exist in Gen X. Didn't exist. If there was a job, you did it. You clean the floor, you drive a taxi, you work the door of a nightclub, you be a barman, you make money. There's just dignity in making money. So the idea of, well, it's not what I want to do, or it's beneath me. I've had girlfriends, 2 at different points in my life. They were both, one was 26, one was 27, and neither of them, they'd already done bar work, and they wouldn't go back to bar work at 27. I've already done it. It's behind me. So what they did was they stayed unemployed. And I'm like, that's not acceptable. There is no element of business that is not psychology. The one thing that stops people from earning money in their business, what do you think it might be? If you had to guess, I know I'm putting you on the spot. If you had to guess, what would you think the one thing that stops businesses from working would be? Broadly speaking, yes. Broadly speaking, yes. It's not the market. It's not the economy. It's not the inability to provide goods and services. There's never been a time in human history where we had so much stuff, so much variety, so much capacity. The technology is getting cheaper and cheaper and cheaper, not year by year, but month by month. There's no excuse for anything. So I would always say the one thing that stops businesses from moving forward, you alluded to it, is ego, is the human ego. There's blind spots, there's shadow activation, and then there's this thing where people say, it's not what I want to do. And I say, okay, well, fuck you then. Go fucking be poor. You won't work in McDonald's. You won't do a door. You're coming to me. I worked my whole life. I did all these jobs. I cleaned sewers even. Used to punch people for £9 an hour and get punched as well. I got stabbed doing that. I got glassed doing that. And I just went to work. I just kept going to work. So my sympathy for people who are like, oh, but it's not my dream is nothing. Now, I'm not a tough guy entrepreneur. There's people who teach business and they're extremely tough about it. I don't think it's necessary to be like that. But I do think it's necessary to have people have an interaction with reality. And this is the beauty of business. It's an interaction with reality. Business is a jungle. Capitalism is a jungle. The jungle doesn't give a fuck about you. Not one fuck. And I love that. I love it. Yeah, it's perfect. It's perfect. It's a perfect, brutal, savage ecosystem. If you have a good product and a good service, and you market it well, and you're good to your customers, you will not just survive, you will thrive. If you break those rules, you will die. And I'm glad. I love it. It's perfect. You're dying not because of external forces, but because you suck. And that's Darwinism in action as far as I'm concerned. So all of the stuff that I have to deal with in psychology, with the ideology of psychology, which is necessary, psychotherapy engenders a certain ideology where there's no moral absolutism, it's all moral relativism, everybody has a right to their subjective experience, so on and so forth. It's turned on its head in business. As your therapist, I really, to a greater or lesser degree, should hold during the therapy session your subjective experience and your preferences as the priority. 9 times out of 10, it makes sense. Certainly in the early phases of somebody who's quite traumatized. As we move forward in therapy, you would become more philosophical and start to move them out the door. But in the first phases, I have to create that safe space for you. Safe spaces are perfectly valid in therapy at that point. This isn't a total inversion of that. It's the opposite. It's literally nobody cares about you, not one person. The jungle, everything that's in it, all the monkeys, all the birds, all the snakes, all the insects, all the noise, the chirping, the roaring, the fighting, the fucking, everything that's going on will continue long after you're dead. It's been going long before you ever showed up, and it will go on long after you're dead. If you do really well and you're a great success, the jungle gives not one shit. If you are tortured to death and die, the jungle gives not one shit. It's perfect. It's beautiful. It's terrifying. But the jungle is neutral. It's how we operate that counts. And we have to follow the rules. And the rules are like cast iron. I've never seen anybody break the rules. So people hear that and their egos get like spiked. And they're like, I bet I can think of an example that you haven't thought of, Clever Clogs. No, you can't. They'll be like, what about people who got an inheritance? What about people who are just geniuses? Or they'll be like, what about Steve Jobs? They all followed the same rules, man. An inheritance is not profit. It's not classed as profit. That's just a fat piece of capital that's dropped on you out the sky by people who did follow the rules. That's not an earning as far as I'm concerned. Just because you have it doesn't mean you earned it. Earning and surviving and thriving in the jungle is the same set of rules every single time. Good product, good service, good. And people will be like, no, there's bad products and services out there. Yeah, there are. There's scammers out there. They don't survive, and they certainly don't thrive. It's not possible. You can't show me people who are consistently putting out bad product and bad service with no support for their customers who survive and thrive. It doesn't exist. They die, or the jungle tears them apart. You can show me examples where they got away for a weirdly long period of time. The banks, for example, because our jungle is corrupted. We now have the hidden hand in the jungle. Because, but I'm talking about the jungle of capitalism. So if people want to use that example, I would say that's the jungle of socialism. Without wanting to get too far into politics, we don't live inside of capitalism anymore. Not since 2008. Not since the banks were bailed out by governments. This ain't capitalism. The jungle isn't capitalism. I'm talking about the jungle of capitalism. So there are no examples that I'm aware of that contradict these rules. It's a good product, a good service, at the right price to the right people, with good support for the customers afterwards, and that's it. If you break any one of those rules, you're fucked, and you should be. And I'm glad. I'm glad when people fail, as I am glad when they succeed, because it's the same thing. It's the same principle. The jungle doesn't care whether you succeed or whether you fail, and we should take solace in that, because if you start business tomorrow and in a year's time you're doing really well and you've got your Bugatti or whatever it is, you might start thinking the jungle's going to punish me, because there's like religious thinking, weird philosophical ideas come into it. The jungle doesn't care. If anything, it might even reward you. Like resources flow to where resources already are. It's this sick thing. People who have money end up being given free stuff. So even when your capacity to spend money goes up, counterintuitively, people's desire to give you luxury goods for free goes up because your status is rising up. So to me, the reason why I'm saying all this is it's not about your business degree. It's not about administration or, I knew people in Malaysia and Southeast Asia generally. I knew people who were obsessed with getting, what the hell is it called? There's a business management qualification. Is it called an MBA? What is it called? Do you know what that is? There's some weird thing that people get. They get obsessed with it, and it takes. Huh?
I think it's an MBA.
I think it's an MBA, and they're like, "Oh, when I've got that, everything's going to be okay." Okay, all right. You want to know where I got my MBA? Selling socks at Birkenhead Market. Then we sold second-hand computers at Birkenhead Market. Then I sold PDFs that I made on body weight training. Yeah, when I was 22, on like push-ups and squats on eBay when you used to be able to do that. No, not everybody has an entrepreneurial spirit. I was blessed and cursed with a very chaotic environment. There's a play by Arthur Miller called Death of a Salesman that I can't get through because it triggers so much anxiety in me. It reminds me so much of my father. So he's still alive, like a failed capitalist. He's a failed entrepreneur. He had the dream and he attempted many things. I think between the age of 10 and 20, I was involved personally with him in 15 different startups. He would have two on the go at the same time. They would all do okay-ish and then boom. And he just lost. He'd made money selling timeshare. So even before I was 10, I was in meetings in the Four Seasons, which you have here in Dubai as well. So the Four Seasons it's an Irish-American group, I think. And they were in the Algarve. And that they had my father as a timeshare salesman, and he flew there. He did really, really well. The culture there was good for him, and they kind of controlled him because he's a good talker. He's an Irishman himself. He's a very good talker, very charming, and he made huge amounts of sales. But I would be there. I'd be present for the sales presentations. Who's a very, like a politician who's going around kissing babies. He'd be like, "Oh, and here's my son." So I was like this little, parentified kid who could shake people's hands and chat to them. And they could ask me about the resort and I knew what to say. They'd stick me in like a little shirt and trousers and I'd be like, "Oh, he's so cute. Let's buy, 5 weeks this year at the, top gold standard and whatever." So I was raised in a sales environment, literally. And then I was hands-on for multiple failed startups. And I grew through my teenage years with the frustration of watching not just my father, but his partners, the people he worked with, fuck up startups. So, if you're in a situation where you're held back from doing something you want to do, when you eventually let go, you fly. I had a lot of anger and resentment behind me because I was like, God, what is wrong with you adults? Like, are you dumb? How can you not see that this doesn't work? You can't have, if you're selling cups, and you sell 100 cups and 3 of your customers bought cups and you don't deliver it, you can't just write them off. You can't just be like, "Oh, well, we run out of cups." Refund them. Do the right thing. When I say it's a jungle and it's a savage jungle, I'm not saying rip people off. That breaks the law of the jungle. You won't survive. The jungle will punish you for that. I'd see people not fulfilling on products. I'd see people, there would be like sexual relations where there shouldn't be sexual relations going on. Very, very obvious things would break businesses. And people will watch this, they'll get triggered, they'll be like, "No, Rich, you don't understand. In my individual case, it was a Wednesday and the storm cloud flew in from the east-west and then the economy went pingity-poo and it was really special and that's what broke my business." No way. No way. It's important to say, and it's important to say to you as well because you'll run your own business. I know it looks complicated and it looks like magic when you're outside of it. It really looks like magic. There's all these weird words and jargon and, people look at business and they think corporation. For the love of God, don't do that to yourself. Think of me at Birkenhead Market selling socks and t-shirts that I printed. That's business. You want to get into corporations, I mean, really again, I don't want to get sidetracked with politics and stuff, but corporations aren't really capitalism. It's not really, it's a perversion. It's corporate capitalism. It's like a viral mutation. It's not really free market capitalism. Corporations the way just as a sideline to really warn people off of comparing themselves to BMW or Coca-Cola or McDonald's. Imagine we're all playing football, American football. We're all playing American football, and it's 20 aside. I don't know what you do in American football, but you have the really, really good players get stronger and stronger. They take steroids and they get stronger than everybody else. That nobody else can. They can't take steroids, let's say. And then they look at other players and they go, "You're strong as well. And if I leave you on your own, you're going to take points away from me that could be mine. But if I absorb you, I'm going to get stronger again." So then the players that are already strong and are strong enough to do it start to absorb other players. Now you're playing American football with a guy who's twice the size of a normal human. Then he becomes 3 times the size of a normal human. You're running a shop, you're running your burger bar, and meanwhile McDonald's is becoming this Japanese anime mutant monster man, full jacked with roids and just like 5 times, now 10 times, now 50 times the size of a normal human. And we go, there's the playing field, those are the rules, go and play, boys. It's capitalism, it's competition. That ain't competition. That ain't fucking that's not a competition. That's insane. That's effectively what you start to see is like, it's not quite a monopoly, but it's moving towards monopoly. And that's why we have monopoly laws. That's why we're supposed to enforce monopoly laws and we don't. The reason I made that point is just to hammer this. Do not think of yourself in comparison to BMW, Coca-Cola, McDonald's, the bank, any corporation whatsoever. That's a different thing. You're a market stall salesperson, man or woman. That's where you start. Everything that you do after that, you think in terms of, I've set up my stall, people will come, they will see my product, they will see my service, they will make a purchase decision based on the words I say and how that product or service looks. And they're going to do it if it benefits them and for no other reason. No other reason. Don't try and guilt your clients into buying. Don't give them a sob story and tell them that you're dying of a rare disease. Don't do that. You might make some money for a short period of time doing that, but it's against the laws of the jungle and the jungle will consume you. So don't do that. It should be the best thing for the client. And a smart business person could say, okay, well, I'll sell them crap. And then when they go home and they open it up, they'll realize it's crap, but it's too late. You could do that, but don't do that. You're making, it's bad karma. You're ruining the ecosystem. Legally, you could, and I hope do get in trouble for it. The easier life, the easier way to make money is to be ethical and just give them a good product. And then next week, create a new product and go, do you like that purple one I gave you last week? Oh, it was cool. I got a green one this week. Great. Right person, right price, right place. They already had a positive emotional connection to you and your product from last week. They buy again. The reason again, like for saying as well, like comparing yourself to corporations, if people are watching this saying, I want to be a multimillionaire and I want to be a multimillionaire in 2 years, please fuck off. I can't help you. I don't want to help people like that. I don't want to help people who think they're slick and smart and have watched too many Gary Vee videos and think I'm doing a startup and in 18 months I'll flip it for $2 million. Get the fuck out of here. No, you won't. Yeah, I will. You don't know. I do know, actually. I've watched people like you come and go for years. You won't do it. It's very hard. What Gary Vee isn't saying, the only person I ever heard say how hard it is Elon Musk. And I'm not an Elon Musk not hugger. I don't really know him. I don't care. But one day I was doing the dishes. I really don't like it. And I had podcasts rolling on YouTube, and there was automated podcasts just rolling. And this guy comes on and he says, never go into business. It sucks and it's going to break your heart. And I was like, this man is singing my song. Who's this guy? He says, don't do it. He says, I tell all my friends, don't bother. It's going to break your heart. It's going to destroy you. You're gonna die 5 times internally at the soul level before you have any success. It was really catastrophic and super negative. The opposite of the usual American spiel, like fulfill your dreams and buy a big yacht. And, he was saying this is really hard. I was like, who is this guy? And I went and watched. It's Elon Musk, who I think we think of as more of a tech guy, inventor, than a business person predominantly. But that, to me, is real business advice. I'm not saying don't do it, but I'm saying this is hard. It's not complicated. It's simple, but simple is not easy, and it will test you in ways you can't imagine. Even when you followed every single rule I give you, if something can go wrong, it will go wrong, especially when you're new. The what do they call them? The Greeks used to call the fates. The fates will see you building your enterprise, and they'll come and shake you. They'll just test you a little bit. The supplies won't arrive on time. People are going to let you down. Checks are going to bounce, and you'll have your stories and you'll have your scars, and you'll get stronger from that. And it's a beautiful thing. I love that too. It's bumpy. It's a bumpy ride, and you probably have to be determined enough to hold it down 2-3 years, and then it'll smooth out. And that's the reality of it. And anybody telling you anything different is probably fucking scamming you, because like, how? Nobody wants you to have a business. Nobody gives a fuck if you have a business. There's nobody in the jungle who's going to be like, oh yeah, go on, mate, go on. It's not going to happen. You've either got to have family members or friends or somebody who's a lunatic who's just like, oh, I think it's funny when people get good at business. Yay, let's do this. Otherwise, it's not going to happen. Or you pay somebody. You pay somebody to help you. My attitude to it is, let's help as many people as possible make a business, because there's so much fucking money out there that's just being spunked up the wall every day on nothing. Back to the corporation thing. We don't think like corporations. We think like market vendors, because we're not trying to be multi-gazillionaires. But it's perfectly reasonable for you to have a 10-year plan inside of which you're a millionaire. Like, there is that kind of money out there. If you're following the rules and you're doing a good job and you're a craftsperson for something, you're good at doing something, or you're good at providing a good product, why shouldn't you be a millionaire? Millionaire is nothing. In the big scheme of things, it's like, it's neither here nor there. Again, potential trigger warning, because people who sat at home going, I'm living paycheck to paycheck here, and you're telling me being a millionaire is nothing. Depends what league you're in. Depends what your level of consciousness is at. Like where we are in Dubai, a millionaire is not even going to get into the club. You've got to be a multi-millionaire to be at that elite level, or you're nothing here. So the advice I offer is I try and destroy as many dreams as I can up front, so there's less pain later. I'm trying to save the pain later. I'd rather you hear it now and then know what's going to happen later on, so that you know what to expect. I hope people build their own businesses. I really do. Ethically. Robust, ethical, legal business that makes them more than enough money. That's psychology. You have to live with knowing you're making more than you need. So if you're living paycheck to paycheck and you need a philosophy that helps you to make more money, probably the place to start from is to think about what money is, and just get a little fluidity around that. Money is a symbol of value for the purpose of exchange. Originally, historically, they were promissory notes. You're a hardened warrior. I have a really nice sword. I hand you my sword. I go to the Crusades to pillage the Middle East. And why would I hand my sword over? I need that sword. I have a really nice ass, and I hand that to you. You hand me a promissory note that says, I promise to pay the bearer on demand 1 ass. You hold my ass. Why are you laughing? Such a child. You hold my ass. You keep my ass safe. Because you're strong. And your strong warrior hands, you hold my ass. You hold my assets, and you keep them safe. Assets. And the note is, when you come back here, so a bank is a fortress. It's a local fortress. And inside of that fortress are goods while you go away. And when you come back, you say, here it is, and you charge me a fee for holding on to my goods. That's it. So money, but that's originally what money is. That's why they say money is promissory notes. Did you know that? So even in the UK still, to this day, by the picture of the Queen's head, it says, I promise to pay the bearer on demand the sum of, say it's a £10 note, the sum of £10, and that used to be in gold. So your promissory note, if you went to the bank, you could say, I'd like £10 worth of gold, please. £10, which is a measurement of weight. It's cool, right? It now says, I promise to pay the bearer on demand the sum of £5. So what is my promissory note worth? Another promissory note. Once we went away from the money representing an ass or a sword, or I can't think of anything, a lamp, a shield, or there's all this like warrior toolkits or whatever. Yes, my harem. Once once we untethered it from something of value, gold, we went from like gold-backed currency and we got rid of that. It then became what they call fiat currency. So fiat currency means it has value by fiat, which is decree. So a king can say, this is the value of it. So now we have kings, queens, and oligarchs, technocrats telling us what our money is worth, but it has no value. Yeah, and it's been that way since the 70s. And I would say, I'm only giving you a little bit of history to this, just so your philosophy of what money is and isn't just loosens up a little bit. Since 2008 onwards, it really has become, ta-da, whatever we say. It's really, it's a magic show now. It's purely a magic show. Once you've bailed out your banks, because if it was capitalism and the bank fucked up and broke the laws of the jungle, once the bank has made out loans that it can't repay and given away junk mortgages to junk people like me when I was a 25-year-old cokehead bouncer and I had 10 houses, I was part of the Big Short. I was part of all that. What should happen to that bank? It should fail. It should die. Why didn't it? Because the governments of the world looked and went, but if all these banks that have behaved so abhorrently and so recklessly and broken every law of capitalism, if they all fail, our entire civilization may collapse. So the government's bailed it out. So what do we live with now? Fantasy. These are just pixels. These are numbers. Really, seriously, it sounds like I sound like a 15-year-old who puts eyeliner on and wears a black trench coat. Like, nothing is anything, man. It's all perception. It's ones and zeros. But it really is. It really is. Now, if you're suffering and you're saying, oh, so I don't have money, and that means that I don't have a fantasy, I don't have ones and zeros, that might piss people off a little bit, but that's literally the case. It's a magical game in the sense of these are magical symbols that we're playing with. I, as a person who makes money and can control money to some degree, I keep that in my mind so I'm not overwhelmed. I keep that in my mind so that I'm not too submissive to the almighty dollar. I used to work for £9 an hour. I used to work, yeah. The last time I did worked as a bouncer, I was on £9 an hour for the Albanians. Peanuts. I worked for an Albanian gang doing nightclub security, 2 Albanian gangs in the end in London, and they paid me £9 an hour, which is roughly 14 United States dollars now. So not far from minimum wage. And again, nobody cares. The flip side of the coin is you get like a business together and you break out of that life, you break out of the hood, as it were. There will be people who know you who care, but nobody cares. No, if you have money, that's great. The tax man will care, but that's like an indifferent sort of all-seeing eye that just wants its cut. It's gangsterism. They want their cut. So money is energy, and I think that's a defensible statement. It's not too vague. It's not sophistry to say money is energy. It's a symbol of energy. It's a symbol of work, and it is energy. So it's a symbol of work, which means that it's a symbol of life. So I spend 9 hours on a door and I make whatever I make. Say I make like 70 quid for the night. What did I give? I gave 9 hours of work, 9 hours of health and safety, 9 hours of my energy, 9 hours of potential violence, so on and so forth. Blood, sweat, tears, whatever happens, because I'm getting my money either way. If I have a good night, I get £9 an hour. If I have a shit night and I get beaten up, I get £9 an hour. So it's a symbol. It's a symbol of time and effort. It's a symbol of energy. And it flows as energy in the economy. And there's tons of it. There's loads of it. There's way more than anybody knows what the fuck to do with. We don't need that. As a business person, the way I started, and I slowly leveled it up over the years. I never went crazy. I'm not a greedy person. As I said, when I started out, and I was driving like an old Toyota, I said, you know what would be really nice, what would really help me right now is if I was earning £500 a week. So about $700 a week. That's where I started. $700 a week. If I could do that, by selling stuff, I'd be really, really happy. If I could do that with the money I'm earning from doing the door. I was also a PT. Sometimes I'd work as a DJ. Sometimes I'd take on extra work as a cleaner. I had a horrible job as a cleaner. I worked for a company that cleaned laboratories. Yeah, it was shit. Just vile, but that was slightly better paid. And if I could get to 500 a week consistently, I would consider myself a success. And I learned a way to do that. That's where I want people to start. Don't give me this, I want to work 18 months with a startup and flip it for $2 million. I do not want to speak to one fucking human being who talks like that. My life is too short and I'm too old. I'm 45. I've spent years talking to people I didn't want to talk to. I am speaking to people I don't want to talk to anymore. If you can say to me, the state I'm in right now, if I got to £4,000 a month, because I have 3 kids and they got to go to school and my wife is doing this and I'm doing this, or my husband is doing this, whatever it is, I can talk to you and we can build something that will make sense, that's ethical, consistent, and will last. We don't talk in millions. You can be a millionaire, but you keep it reasonable. And you say, okay, take this perspective. This is back to the psychology and the philosophy. Like £4,000 a month. What does that mean to me? And your body floods. You go, oh my God, if we were pulling in on top of what we earn now, because everybody's surviving, right? An extra £4,000 a month, I could pay the clothes, the kids, the schooling, the food in the house. My God, we could start saving for a holiday. We haven't been on holiday in 5 years. You know, like, we would feel safe. We would feel good. We'd blah, 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 blah. And your body changes. And then I'm going, it's nothing. It's just energy. It's nothing. Well, it's not to you. It's the flood of relief that you just experienced. You have to get over that. You have to get your brain and your heart around that and be like, it is nothing. It is nothing. There's tons of it. It's flowing around us as we talk, like molecules of money. It's not literal, but like, think this way. Think like a psychedelic lunatic. Molecules of money are pinging through my head as I'm talking to you now. Because it is flowing all around us. I could point in any direction. It's flowing, 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 flowing. This building right now is spewing out thousands of pounds every minute in lights and air conditioning because we're in a BBC studio. So it's pissing money. The street outside is pissing money. The people who are driving those cars are pissing money. There's money, money, money flying everywhere. You're telling me that you don't deserve that for your little £4,000 a month so you can feel safe with your kids and your wife? That's crazy. You can get your head around that, right? Anybody should be able to get their head around that. You only want your £4,000 a month. You know what? What's going to happen is you're going to have a good month and you're going to make £6,000. How would you feel? I'd feel amazing. It's nothing. Nothing. Nobody's going to like, gangsters aren't going to be like, hey, we heard you're making a loads of money. You better give some of it to us or we're going to, shotgun you in the legs. Nobody's come in your house. Nobody's going to question you. Nobody's going to challenge you. Just keep it sensible. Stay calm. Make your money. Save your money. Don't spend the fucker. Don't be a lunatic. That's another piece of money psychology. I always say it's not mine. The money's in the bank. It's not mine. It belongs to future me. It belongs to future emergencies in my family, future terrifying scenarios that people can go through. And I don't know what they are. So it doesn't belong to me. It sits in the bank, but it's not mine. It's vaguely mine. So my sort of sense of money, it's like magic. It's magician shit. I'm like, I'm holding this thing. It's going in, it's going out. Some of it goes over there. Some of it goes over there. But I'm not going, I've got £10,000 in one of my accounts over there. Just buy some whatever, like Balenciagas, or I don't do it. I don't do it. I never do it. The reason why, when you were working as a PT, that you went and spunked the money that you earned straight away is because you're coming from a poverty mindset. All poor people do this. I take any ethnic or nationalist stereotype from any area of the world where people are raised poor. Anybody, for example, who's had the experience of using water, not milk, on their morning cereal. People who are that broke, they've come from a household where there's no milk. They've come from a household where there was real violence in the house because of a lack of money. Money is a very stressful topic. When you have it, you're terrified and you're anxious. I've seen people do this. They become successful and they're terrified. I see it in their eyes. They're like, hey, yeah, I did it. they're waiting for their dad to come. They're back 4 years old. They're waiting for their dad to come and beat the fuck out of them for it, or their mum to scream at them, or some catastrophic event is now going to happen because I put money in the bank. That's why it's nothing. In my head, it's nothing. The mantra is it's nothing. It's nothing. It's nothing. Don't hold on. Don't use a lot of emotion around it. Let it be there. It's in the bank. Let it sit there. It's resting. It's resting. The dragon's resting right now. Let it sleep. We'll wake it up when we need it. We don't need it right now. But I want to... Just chill. It's going to be there. There's more. There's more coming. And that's why you have, like... you must have this in Iraq culture, like people with gold, like in Scousers where I'm from, gaudy as fuck. Jewels, the chains, the car with the spinny thing on the wheels, and everything's like Balenciaga, Louis Vuitton, Gucci. You'll never see me with a logo. You said I'm not a big spender. You'll never see me with a logo on me. I'm still in my prep phase as far as I'm concerned. So I'm like, if this is magic, and there's different levels of being an initiate, like in Freemasonry. If I become a multi-millionaire, like at the extreme end, I don't want to become emotionally dysregulated. I don't want to ruin my life and become psychotic, because fame and money, I've seen it. I saw it recently. It's like the ring in Lord of the Rings. This wasn't money. Well, money was on the back end. It was fame. And I had a group of people that I was in daily contact with, and like the ring came close to them, the ring of fame, and they were like, they turned into demons, and then the ring pulled away, and they went, oh, and they calmed down. The ring comes close again, they start saying and doing weird shit. And I'm like looking at it's really cringe what you're doing right now. There's like a person who represents fame and an access to fame comes close to them, and they start acting up, and it's like high school drama time. Look at me, I'm looking at them and looking at this poor guy. It's so cringe, and I'm saying to them, look, this guy isn't going to pick you like that, man. He knows what he wants. Be normal, be calm. The filmmaker is a filmmaker. You're not going to convince him. So people get like neurotic, and they think if I put energy into this, it's going to change it. It's not. Same with money. Money comes close, people freak out, money goes away, they calm down again. You shouldn't be like that. My aspiration is to be, say I have $1 million in the bank, I'm going to put my little man bag on and my flip-flops, and I'm going to go down, I'm going to drink my flat white, and I'm going to chat to the waiter the same way I would if it's 100 million, because I'm still flesh and blood. I'll be dead one day. We'll all be dead one day. You can't eat the money. I can't, I can't transcend the world. I can't become immaterial. I'm this height, I'm this ethnicity, I'm this background, I'm this DNA for the period of time I'm here. If I have it, I have it. If I don't, I don't. I'm still me. That's like materialism versus a spiritual approach. I don't want to lose it. I've been poor. I didn't enjoy it. It's not like people tell you, oh, money can't buy you happiness. That's bullshit. Like being poor is misery. It's miserable unless you take sannyas and you really, really denounce the world and you become a monk. Okay, fine. But nobody watching this. Nobody's fucking doing it. Yeah, right. They're on YouTube on their phone going, yes, I'll become a monk tomorrow. You won't. Yeah. So you want to be that. For me, I want that groundedness. I want to know that I'm not going to go crazy. It's so interesting because geographically we call this area of the world the Middle East. Yeah. Christianity came from here as well, yes. But Christianity is Western, and Islam is Eastern. So you're sort of reaching out that way to the East, whereas Christianity reached to the West, and in that sense you can see the echoes and the flavoring of like a Vedic philosophy. It's the world. It's illusory. It's temporary. Enjoy. Take pleasure what it is. Don't attach. Don't get attached. Because you'll be gone in a minute. And what counts is the world beyond, the world to come. And this is it's okay. Like do well, don't do well, do good things, help people, and that's it. And that's I try and do that with the money. Every once in a while I get the opportunity. I can help people. If somebody's trying to make a film, I can give them money. There was an ex-girlfriend of mine who I lost contact with for a few years, and then I got in contact with her again, and I found out that she was in an apartment that was her her brother's apartment, and it had a bathroom that was a shower and a toilet with no wall on it and no kitchen. And I was like, what the? It's like she'd been through a divorce and this and that. And I put her in an apartment. I can't, because I could say, okay, I'll put you in an apartment. Where are you? Show me geographically where you are. Okay, well, this is what this type of an apartment costs, and I'll put you in the apartment. She's like, I can't pay you back. I'm like, so it's all right. What difference does it make? You know, in one scenario, you're living one up from base level sort of homelessness. She's in a poor area of Romania, and she just couldn't afford anything better than that. And in another scenario, I can take money that I would probably spend that going on a business trip. These seminars that I do in other countries, they cost me money. I don't make money on the seminars. About $4,000. If you fly business class, you stay in a 5-star hotel, you do a couple of seminars, you eat a few restaurants, about $4,000. And I was on a business trip when she called me. I was in Belgrade. And I just went, oh, okay, here's what I've spent on this business trip. Here's what it costs to rent a decent apartment in Romania with a little bit left over. Here's the money. Another friend of mine in Prague, she's Ukrainian, and her mum was living with her. She lived in a 1-bedroom studio. Her mum had fled Ukraine. It was like August. It was 3 months after the war had started. And so she's now stuck in a flat in the summer in Prague, Prague gets very, very hot, with her aging mother. And her mother's crying every day because she misses the father. So M, her name is M, I won't say her full name. She wanted to drive her back, but she couldn't afford it, and I paid for it. She drove her mother back into a war zone to be with the father. The father was under the age of 60, so he had to stay. They wouldn't let him out. So she was like, I'm going to now drive 24 hours, wait 8 hours at the border to go and put my mother back into a war zone. And I know what she earns, and I know what car she was going in, and I was like, here's me sat in a 5-star hotel. I think I can give you something towards that. And it feels good. Feels good to do that. It feels, you know, from another point of view, you could say, oh, you could have bought like a nice Gucci bag or so. I don't know what people like. It doesn't give me pleasure. It doesn't do anything to me. I'm not like, maybe I'd feel differently. Maybe if I cared about the brands and I thought it was going to do something, or it was going to lead me to a better place or some sort of transcendence. And if every time I touched it, I suddenly felt like a connection with God, like angels sang. I'd buy that. Every time I got irritated, I could touch it and be like, oh, you know, I'd be like, oh, I'm in the presence of the Lord Almighty. But there's nothing that you can give me that's like that. There's nothing. The only thing I can do is show myself and show reality and show money that I'm not attached by symbolic gestures. And I can go, here is a chunk of money. It goes over there. Why? Because somebody that I used to love is suffering. They can take that, and it's not a purely selfless act. I do think that helps me. I do think that assists me as well. Yeah. So it's like, it's back to the magic thing. It's money. It's flowing. It goes over there now. What can she do with it? Can she turn it into cocaine and uselessness? No, because it's put straight into the rent. As with anything, money can be used for good or bad. And if I see a situation where somebody is genuinely struggling, it's nice to be able to go, no, I can help you with that. And that's it. Hello, folks. I hope that you enjoyed that video. If you'd like to know more, I have a business course available for you from this link right here. Thank you.